Hello, I'm Nikki, Gresham Record, and it's an absolute honour, delight to be here in this forum, sharing with so many beautiful people, and yeah, just an honour. So thank you for the invitation, and I am going to share with you some of my thoughts, my ideas, some of my experience of addressing issues of spirituality and of belief change in particular, in terms of unlocking health, unlocking the potential. So I'm a psychologist, an intuitive and a healer. I'm very interested in the mind-body-spirit union. So this is something that I have kind of fully immersed in for quite a while now, and it's something that came to me very naturally and organically through my personal journey. So I work and I teach belief change. I've created the Healing Insight method, and this is here for our personal empowerment at this time. So it's a beautiful method and protocol that's created as a self-help method initially, so that we can each be the shift and be the change. So it uses some fundamental principles of energy psychology, of ancient spiritual practices that assist in the letting go of the attachment to belief programs that have previously kept us limited and stuck. And I just want to share a little in terms of how that can impact our bodies and how we can unlock energy and distortions from the body that can make way for health, can make way for more light and holding more light in the body. So I'll give you a quick backstory. I suffered from lupus, so I was first diagnosed when I was 19 years old. Started a little before then. So I had lupus erythematosus, systemic lupus erythematosus, which means it's an autoimmune disease, chronic autoimmune disease that can manifest, so the immune system can attack any particular organ. I sat with that for years and played with that for years and worked through that for many years. So it wasn't until I was in my 33rd year that I kind of hit my lowest point. I was exhausted. I hit an all-time low, and I had kind of chronic inflammation in my body, inflammation in my brain. I had a lot of joint pain. My hormones were shot. I wasn't producing any DHEA, no growth hormone, very little cortisol. So I was not in a good way, and I was feeling ready to give up. I had two little babies at the time, and life was a struggle. So I was running many programs that I will share with you now, for example. So life is a struggle. I can't cope. I have lupus. That's a program in itself. I was too weak. I'm unsupported. No one cares about me. I'm a burden. I was going to deteriorate. These were all stories and programs that I was buying into and that I was feeding myself with and telling myself. So it wasn't until I hit that rock bottom and I couldn't see a way forward, and I could see the lives of my children, I could see them growing up, and I could see me not being able to do things with them. And I had an epiphany. I had a moment where I realized that I needed to stop playing victimhood programs. I needed to stop waiting for someone outside of me to come in and help or come and rescue me, so that I could be the change, so that I needed to take responsibility, personal responsibility for my own recovery. I wasn't getting anywhere within the medical fields. I wasn't getting anywhere through support or help. I needed to do my inner work, and I didn't necessarily know what that meant. Although I was trained to this point, I was trained as a psychologist. I didn't understand the true, deep nature and meaning of inner work and spiritual work until I had to immerse in that for myself. So I believe that if I had developed lupus, then I could heal it, I could undevelop it, and I just started to work through that. It took me 5 years. It took me 5 years on my personal journey to heal myself from lupus, but I did. So 5 years later, I could say that I was healed, I was recovered from lupus. I did not have lupus anymore, that I am perfect health. That's a nice belief statement to work with. So how did I do this? I really started to work with that connection and that recognition that we could not and cannot separate the mind, the body and the spirit, that we have to embody, we have to come into body. And I think it's really hard when we have health issues to be in body, because the body carries a lot of pain, the body carries a lot of weight, it carries a lot of discomfort, a lot of unease. And so it's hard to be fully embodied. So this is a process, and it's a journey of allowing ourselves to come into body and to start to be with our pain, to start to look at our pain, emotional pain, and the things that cause mental pain, the things that cause this kind of contraction and distortion within our energy system and our energy field. So I did explore EFT, Psych-K, theta healing, the lightning process, many modalities. And I came away with these kind of key takeaways. So the first would be that when we have health issues, there are energy distortions within the body. So these are energy blockages, contractions, points at which the body holds trauma or holds negative energy, holds limiting patterns, programs and beliefs. And when we hold these contractions and we hold these distortions, it impacts our perception, impacts the way in which we see things, and it impacts our thoughts, our words, and our actions, our behaviors. So first thing we need to realize is that we carry energy distortions. Everybody carries energy distortions. You know, this is okay. This is part of us moving through this 3D matrix. So when we become embodied, we work through our pain and we can change the programs. And this is the most empowering thing I saw and that I use in my everyday work with clients, is that we can shift and we can move and we can change these programs. So when we feel a contraction, when we feel emotion, when we feel a distortion, we feel frustration, anger, resentment, hopelessness, helplessness, guilt, shame, we are attaching to a belief that doesn't serve us, that is not in alignment with who we are as a magnificent creator being that has descended into this human body to have this human experience. So when we can see that we are not our programs, we're not our emotions, we're not the identities that we've created through the ego structures, that we are these beautiful spiritual beings of light, and we're here to bring this light, to embody it in the human form, to become the divine human in this ascension, in this shift, then we liberate ourselves and we can start that detachment process from the stories, the programs, the patterns, and the emotional kind of wounds. So I had a profound spiritual experience in 2012 where I was immersed in the most divine, beautiful energy. I would define or describe it. It felt as if it was the Holy Spirit. I was not brought up religious. I was christened, but I have not had any kind of spiritual teachings or practices throughout my life. So this experience for me was I was immersed for 3 hours, completely gone in a state of bliss and pure unconditional love. It was so, so humbling. And I realized and recognized without question, without doubt, that I was a divine being, that I was part of a divinity, part of this beautiful consciousness. And in that moment I declared myself to be of service, and life has never been the same since. However, I share this moment not because I was on the top of a high mountain or in some sacred site or part of a ceremony or any of that. I was in the bath doing my inner work, healing my greatest wounds. I was feeling into the pain in my heart and allowing myself to sit with and feel and be in that deep, deep pain, those deep, deep wounds. And in the process of doing so, I was just immersed in this most heavenly, divine light, and it was completely outside of space and time. I came out of that process. I was conscious, I was aware, I seemed to be aware of everything, but I came out of that process 3 hours later. So when we make the message, and the reason I'm sharing that is when we go into our wounds, when we do our inner work, when we allow ourselves to be with our pain and the contraction and the distortions, we make space for the light to penetrate, to enter. And we are doing a great service to humanity through doing our inner work and clearing our wounds. So we need to move and we need to shift these distorted patterns. So we've each got patterns of unworthiness, and we need to move from unworthiness to worthiness, from disempowerment to empowerment, from being controlled or feeling out of control to a state of being in charge of our own lives and our own reality, to becoming creator beings. And this is really where we take our power back, where we become sovereign beings of light, able to utilize this light to create and shift our reality. And this is what we can do this with our own health. We have to reprogram, if you like, or deconstruct the old patterns to make way for and align with our authentic selves, the self that has and knows unconditional love in our core. We need to be able to trust in love, trust in safety. We've got to unpick all of these programs that we've seen through our schooling, our education systems, the healthcare systems, through the television, through the news. We have to unpick all of these stories. These are stories, they are agendas, and when we come into our sovereignty, we can see straight through those, and they do not have the power over us because we have this ability to create and shift our own lives and our own reality. So yes, it's also important that we look at the other layers of toxicity, the toxicity through water, through our food sources, through the air, and we can clean up, we can do our best to clean that up. But for me, the most profound shifts and changes that I see in myself when working with clients is through shifting these lower density consciousnesses that keep us stuck and keep us trapped. So we are moving from fear and a fear-based reality into a love-based reality and consciousness. And I'm going to share with you the how that I've brought through in these last few moments here. So the Healing Insight method was created as draw on all of my experiences. It's all in my book, Working with Chakras for Belief Change, which you can find, that is available globally. So you can get that on Amazon or through the publisher, Inner Traditions, Findhorn Press. And I have this beautiful card deck that I brought through last year, so that's full of beliefs and affirmations, and you can learn to muscle test yourself to see what your priority is in order to resolve a particular issue. So they're based and oriented around the chakra system, and the system works by bringing you into this place of emptiness. So it uses the spiritual teachings and practice of Qigong, and we drop into emptiness, and this is something we need to learn. We teach our bodies how to move into that surrender, how to let go, and to connect with the earth, to connect with the heavens, the cosmos. And then we bring in this movement. So it's this infinity harmonizing movement, and we use that movement and our intention to activate both hemispheres of the brain, so one at a time, and we're getting our crosstalk. So we're activating the corpus callosum, and this helps to come into vibrational alignment with the new beliefs. And as we come into vibrational alignment with the new beliefs, we release and we shift old energy patterns and old density, old consciousnesses. So you feel a release as you're moving through the process, and you feel a vibrational resonance with the new belief. And then we come into a visualization process, which is beautiful, just embodying that belief, resonating with it, seeing what life looks like beyond the old, so moving into the new, and we ground and we anchor that. And the system is there as a self-help method, so you can learn it for yourself. And then I've had beautiful people who have used it for themselves, they've transformed their lives, and they want to now share this with other people. And there's a practitioner training, so you can access support if you want help with this. But the message for today, more than anything, regardless of how you do it, there are different modalities, and use whatever works for you. But address the belief programs, because when we do, we really do have a power to shift our reality, to clear the density from our bodies, and to anchor light and become the divine human, to show up and to shine our light and be part of this great ascension process. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and I hope to stay in touch. Okay, take care. Many blessings.